All right, welcome. My name is Linda. Today we'll be doing a yang practice, and I'm going to recommend 2 blocks and a blanket. If you don't have blocks, you could use, I usually recommend some textbooks. We're going to start in King of the Mountain. So Tadasana, mountain pose, feet together, heels together, wrists over shoulders. And then I have a block over my hands, but you could use something lighter, like a card or a phone. It's just a practice of stacking. So wrists over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over ankles. Remember to unclench your butt. You can shift your weight from your heels to the balls of your feet. And finding a pull up your arches. So your feet are like suction cups with the floor. Trying to slow down the breath. This is one of my favorite warm-ups because on the outside, of course, it's the stillness and magnificence of a mountain. But on the inside, it could be volcanic, it could be tumultuous. You can imagine the breath. Inhale from the bottom of your feet, traveling up the backs of your legs, up your spine to the crown of your head. And exhale down your front body, all the way back down to the bottoms of your feet. Inhale up your back. And exhale down the front. Inhale. You can imagine fire rising, the effort it takes for fire to rise. And then exhale, water descending, like grace flowing down. You could play with the imagery of fire and water, or inhale for effort, exhale for grace, knowing that you control how much effort to how much grace. If you have too much effort, then you become brittle, you dry out. But if you expect too much grace, you become swampy and stagnant. So you are in the middle, interplaying between effort and grace. Gently release your hands. And we're gonna come to a hang. So feet hips width distance. So imagine 2 fists in between the arches of your feet, and you're gonna squeeze your fists together between the arches of your feet. And in this hang, if you do want adjustments, because usually I ask for a very clean fold at the hips. If you need more space, you could place your hands on 2 blocks. You're still finding this crease here. So you have more space here. Or you could come up to your fingertips if you don't want to use the blocks. That's fine as well. So knees are bent here, hips are high. You could grab opposite elbow. You could interlace fingers behind your back. We're starting today in the legs. Asana practice really is a first floor game. So in Katonah yoga, we think of the body as a home. The first floor from your belly button down is your foundation, your stability. Your second floor is from your belly button to your palate, your torso. That's your ability, your capacity, the floor of doing. And then from your palate to your crown, that's the floor of vision, of creativity, of intelligence. But postural yoga really is a first floor game. It's all about setting the foundation in your stability. Walk your fingers out, Walk it over to 10 o'clock towards the left, keeping your right hip in place, really feeling that side stretch. And then bring your fingertips to the right, keeping your left hip in place. And walk it back to the center, fingertips out, keeping a gaze on your fingertips. Walk your feet together so you have one big foot, keeping a bend in the knees, left elbow over right knee, forming your left hand into a fist. Right hand grabs that fist for a nice twist. Try to bring your left elbow as close as your right knee as you can. And bring it to the other side. Right elbow over left knee. Bring your feet back to hips width distance. Finding your hang once more. Shifting the weight from your heels of your feet to the balls of your feet. So there's a slight tilt forward. And imagine yourself opening the backs of your legs, opening the backs of the knees, spreading your sit bones apart, and finding as much contact between your tops of the legs and your chest. Hangs are very tiring. It requires a lot of stamina to be in your legs. It takes a lot of hip awareness to be here as well, because really you want to be hanging from your hips, because your hips are the heaviest joint in your body. So if you're able to hang from your hips and you're able to move from your joint space, then you're able to let your muscles relax and play with the idea of effortless effort. All right, let's come down onto hands and knees. We're gonna do some cat-cows, but before we do that, let's get into the wrist. We could flip one wrist over. Let's start with the right wrist and make circles all around your right wrist. Clockwise and counterclockwise. Left side, going all the way around. And making sure you go the opposite direction. You could keep making these circles, or you could start speeding it up, lifting at the elbows. And there's always options. This is a yang class, so you're also welcome to try it in a plank and maybe make your arms go in circles. But you're also welcome to do these circles on your knees as well. We're really here playing with hip stability. So even if you are in your plank, your anchors are the balls of your feet, and you're really trying to hold your hip steady to support you while you're making these circles. And if you're on your knees, the entire tops of your legs and tops of your feet are your anchor. So paying attention to that as your foundation as you flip your wrist. All right, now we're gonna pause with both wrists flipped. We're going to play with the cats and the cows. So inhale for cat, exhale for cow. Making sure that your wrists are shoulder width apart. So you can measure that. 2 middle fingers meet. That's how you know your shoulders are over your wrists. You could also measure with a block or book. So if it's 90 degrees, then you know you're stacked. And know that you could always play with the pace. You set your own speed. So you could really go in on the cats and cows, integrating with the breath. Or you could take nice, refined, clean movements. But imagine all of it initiating from your pelvis. In cats and cows, by moving our pelvises up and down and our spine going along for the ride, we're playing with fire. Starting the flame from the base and moving it up to the crown. Flip your wrist back to neutral. Bring your right knee to the middle. Tuck your left knee directly behind your right knee. So it seems like your thighs are glued together and your feet are apart. So notice how the tops of my feet are spread apart here. And the tops of my feet are glued to the mat. So you want to maintain that shoulder width distance with your hands. And you could do it with your wrists flipped, or you could do with fingers interlaced right underneath your sternum. And you're going to take big circles with your hips. So before the cows were playing with fire, here in these hip rotations, we're playing with water. So kidneys are ruled by water. And over here, we're flushing our kidneys, making sure our waters are clean, our waters are moving. Because stagnant water gets smelly, it breeds disease. You want to make sure that your water is crisp and clean. So you want to make sure you're taking time to stir your waters. You can make it clockwise and then make sure you could go counterclockwise as well. And also pay special attention to where in your hips you're not going. It's not good or bad, it's simply information. Maybe it's somewhere that you have yet to explore. Bring your hands back to neutral. Come onto the balls of your feet. You're going to come into a twisted leg, downward facing dog. So staying high on the balls of your feet. Maybe you could try coming onto your fingertips so that you know you're in your hips. It helps if your knees are bent, hips are high. Walk your fingertips towards your feet. Your right leg is in front. You're going to be spinning towards the left. Staying on the balls of your feet, you're spinning, 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 spinning. When you come back around, your left leg should end up in front. And coming back down. Left leg in front of right leg, tops of feet plugged into the floor. They're nice and wide outside of you. And then once again, you can have wrists flipped or fingers interlaced. If you want an even more intense wrist stretch, your interlaced fingers, you're going to flip them one more time. The thumbs are still facing towards you underneath your sternum. And then going for the hip rotations with the left leg in front. Making sure you go clockwise and counterclockwise. Bring your hands back to neutral, coming onto the balls of your feet and pressing up into a downward facing dog with your feet or legs twisted. So thighs are still glued together, so it's like you have one big leg. So knees should be pretty much cupping each other. So there's lots of contact between your upper legs. Hips are high, gaze slightly towards the fingertips. Heels high, because when you lift your heels, you lift up the heel of your butt as well, so your hips come a little higher. And now we're gonna play with a twist. So you're gonna bring your right hand right underneath your face, and then you're gonna come upwards with a bridge variation. And you're gonna swim your left hand in front of you, crisscross, and out. So it's like you're swimming. You're playing with the interlace of the legs. You're walking one leg in front of the other and reaching up and out. So your momentum is towards the front of the room. One palm in front of the other, switch the legs, and swim. So ideally, you'll be moving up towards your mat. If this is too confusing, let me try explaining again. So legs are interlaced. I have my right leg in front of my left leg, right hand in front of my face, twisting up, lifting my hips high. I'm on the balls of my feet, reaching up and over and out, and switching legs. So stay on the balls of your feet, lift your hips high, up and out. You can take this again as quickly or as slowly as you want. Just playing with staying on the balls of your feet, playing with lifting your hips high. Of course, it's easier if everything is stacked. If your palms are under your shoulders, it's going to be a lot easier than if your palm was all the way out away from your shoulder. So lift up from your hips. You want a forward projection. Beautiful. All right. Let's bring it back to a regular down dog. So start at a plank. And from your plank, you're on the balls of your feet, heels lifted high, bent knees, lift your hips high, downward facing dog. If you want support in this, sometimes it's very difficult to energize from your heels. You can press your feet into the wall. Your heels are attached to the wall. You're in a plank distance and energize into your heels, knees bent, hips high. So Katonah down dogs look very different from down dogs you've probably learned in other places. We really want to accentuate the back bend in every pose. So when you bend your knees, you're able to release the muscles in your back, allowing you to have a nice curvature in the spine. Then roll it forward, upward facing dog. Toes are still tucked. Bring it back up, downward facing dog. Bring one hand, bring your right hand left and about 6 inches closer to your face. You're gonna use your left hand to grab your right heel and looking underneath your right armpit. Going for a twist. You could bring your right chin closer to your right armpit. Maybe your left knee could find your left armpit. Twisting around your central spit that runs from the crown to your tailbone. Other side. So heels are still high. Right hand grabs left heel. And a down dog twist. Come onto your hands and knees. We're going to make ourselves into a little seed pod. So forehead by your knees, hands grabbing the heels. Taking a few breaths here as a little seed full of potential. Inhale, arms overhead. Hands touch. Exhale, find land. Wave it forward into an upward facing dog. Tuck your toes. Really opening and broadening your collarbones. And then hips high, knees bent, downward facing dog. Lunge your right foot forward, left knee down. Try to fit your right knee into your right armpit. It should feel like it's in the inner right armpit. You could bring your fingertips out so you know that your leg's in a right angle. You should feel pretty balanced here. And then start massaging your right armpit in your knee. This will feel very strange if you haven't done this before. But really moving all these lymph nodes in this area. Come back to neutral. And you're going to bring your arms by your ears, Anjaneyasana, crescent moon. So here you really want to bend into your right knee. If you need support, you could use a block underneath your thigh here to really help you open your pubis navel sternum. This is your arc of potential. So you want to find that curvature there to help you get deeper into a back bend. You could grab opposite elbow overhead, or you could interlace your fingers underneath your head here as a cradle, elbows high, to help you access this back bend. Arms by your foot, step your left foot to meet your right foot, you're in a hang. So when you're in a hang, again, find your feet hips width distance, find a bend in your knees, relaxing the neck. Look forward and rise, rise, rise like the moon. And then you can roll or swan dive back into your forward fold. Stepping the left foot back, you're back in a right crescent lunge. Arms by your ears, crescent moon. Step your right foot back, downward facing dog. Roll it forward, upward facing dog. Knees down, untuck your toes, sit your butt back. You're back into a seed pod. That was a moon salutation. I've been really into moon salutations because they're nice and flowy and refreshing. So let's get into the other side. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, find land. Wave it forward into an upward facing dog. Hips high, knees bent, heels high, downward facing dog. Lunge the left foot forward, right knee down. And then massage your left armpit. So you should really feel your left knee in your left inner armpit. And again, you should feel pretty balanced out here. You could test with your fingertips out to the side. When you're ready, deep bend in the left knee. Imagine your pelvis coming forward and up as you scoop yourself up into crescent moon. In your crescent moon, you could grab opposite elbow or interlace fingers behind the head, elbows high. Really opening your pubis, navel, sternum so you could access your back bend. Hands down, bring your right foot to meet your left foot. You're in a forward fold. Interlace fingers underneath your chin. Stick your butt way, 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 way out so you're perpendicular with the floor. And through pressing down onto your feet, start to rise, rise, rise. So even when you come up to stand, you should have a little back bend. And then slowly bending your knees, sitting your butt back, coming back out the way you came in. Lunge your right foot back, your left foot's in front. Anjaneyasana, crescent moon. Hands by your feet. Bring your left foot to meet your right foot, downward facing dog. Wave it forward, upward facing dog. An upward facing dog, really broadening your collarbones, looking out, and knees down, butt by your heels, back into a seed pod, like a new moon full of potential. The new moon in Aquarius is this coming Friday. It's also the Lunar New Year. Inhale, rise. Hands overhead. Exhale, find bland. Wave it forward into an upward facing dog. Roll it backwards. Bring it back to shore, downward facing dog. Lunge your right foot forward, left knee down. We're gonna set up for lizard. So let's say your body is facing noon. You're gonna open your right foot towards 2 o'clock. And then you're gonna bring both your elbows down towards 10 o'clock. Let me show you from this angle. So from my down dog, I lunge my right foot forward. My body is facing noon. Open my right foot towards 2 o'clock, and then bring both my elbows down towards 10 o'clock. If your elbows don't reach the ground, you could place blocks or books underneath. So that'd be a nice added support. And you could just stay there, making sure your gaze is looking out. So you don't want to look at your pubis because then you create this shell in your back. You want to be able to extend your spine, so bringing your chin out. If you're comfortable here, you can leave your left elbow on the ground using your right hand to open your right knee. Or you can even come onto your left fingertips Bending your left knee and grabbing it from behind. Your gaze, you want to imagine there's a rainbow above you. So looking at the rainbow before catching your back foot with your gaze. Release. Bring your right foot back to 12 o'clock. Step your left foot to meet your right foot. You're in a hang. Rise up. And coming back down into a fold. Step your left foot back. We're going to be setting up for pigeon on the right side. So for pigeon, I'm going to recommend rolling a towel or a blanket and placing it underneath your perineum. So you could use as many cushions or towels as you'd like. I'm just going to show it from this angle. So from down dog, bringing your right foot forward. And you really want your knee to be outside your hip. So notice if my hips are at noon, right in front of me, my right knee is pointing exactly towards 2 o'clock. That way I really get into my hips. And then having a cushion or a blanket, or you could use like a block, like a layer of blocks or books, and then a blanket on top, because you really want to be able to plug in your root. Because here we're all about setting the foundation. If it's difficult for you to sit up, you could also try using blocks to keep you elevated. And then you could slowly walk it down. You could either come down with these blocks here, or you could place a block underneath your forehead or a stack of books. If you have extra props, even if it's like a cushion, you could also place one underneath your sternum. I like that because it gives you more space for your lungs to move. You're welcome to stay in this restorative pigeon, or you're welcome to come up for a twist. Bringing your left hand in front of you, bending your left knee, similar to what we just did in lizard, going for this twist. You can leave your fingertips out in front of you or on a book, or you want to really test if you're in your hips, trying to kick your back foot into your hands. So that way you know you are deep in your hips. You could also bring it to a back bend, grabbing your back foot with both hands. Remembering to open your collarbones, your chest, and looking out. Whichever variation you're in, come back up. And then we're going to swing that left leg all the way around, placing your left ankle over your right knee. We're setting up for double pigeon, fire log pose. So I do recommend staying seated on something. So you might even have to set yourself up even higher if your knees don't come to touch. If your knees have a lot of space, then put yourself up on another cushion. So you want to make sure knee over ankle, ankle over knee. Might have to walk your bottom foot out. And you can just make some circles here. What we did in the beginning in cat-cow of circling the hips. You could stay here playing with the elevation. You're also welcome to use your fingertips or blocks to hold you up. Or you could also try to go for the fold. So either walking out with blocks or your fingertips, trying to bring your chest towards your thighs or your shins, but making sure you're not blocking the energy here by tucking in your chin. Maintaining that aperture of your throat. So keeping your gaze out as you come into this fold. Another pro tip is keeping your feet flexed. That helps protect the knees. You're just walking out. You can also try taking a twist here, left elbow into left arch of foot. So same twist as we did earlier. Left hand comes into a fist, right hand grabs that fist, going around. Bring it back to a plank and a down dog. Roll it forward to an up dog. Knees down, butt towards your heels, back to a seed pod. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, finding land. Rolling it forward into upward facing dog. And bringing it back to short downward facing dog. We're now going to set up for lizard on the left side. So lunge your left foot forward, right knee down. If your body's facing noon, then your left foot is going to go out and face 10 o'clock. You're going to bring your elbows down towards 2 o'clock. You're welcome to rest them on blocks or books. Remember to keep your gaze outward. So making sure your chin is not tucked in towards your chest. You're welcome to stay here or leaving your right arm on the ground, opening your left knee. You could also play with coming onto your fingertips and grabbing the back foot. Now for pigeon on the left side, placing a prop underneath your pelvic floor and walking your foot in, making sure your knee is on the outside. Let me show you out here. So you're in the lunge from lizard. You're bringing your foot back in, inching your foot in so you can place your knee down. Notice I'm setting myself up on a prop. You could use cushions or blanket or a towel. And if your leg, your shin is not parallel, that's fine. I have my heel close to my groin. Just making sure that your knee is outside your hip. You could play with the elevation in pigeon. If you're having a hard time, if you feel a pinch in your lower back, put some more support underneath your pelvic floor. because really you could only rise up in your spine if you're completely grounded. So making sure that your root, your foundation is stable by virtue of using scaffolding. From here, crawl yourself forward on your fingertips. You're welcome to place a block underneath your forehead or a couple of books. You'd also place a block right underneath your sternum. You're welcome to stay here in this restorative pigeon or come up for a twist. Right fingertips to the middle, bending your right knee, and just like in lizard, grabbing that right foot from behind. Imagine you're seeing a rainbow over yourself before catching your right foot with your gaze. And kick into your backhand as you rise. Also bring it into a back bend, kicking your feet into both your hands. And just like before, we're really opening from the pubis, navel, sternum to access the back bend. Whichever pigeon variation you're in, slowly come up as we prepare for a double pigeon, swinging our right leg all the way around to stack our right ankle over the left knee. Once again, making sure you're sitting on enough things so that your knee comes down. Really, you're elevating your pelvic floor so gravity helps bring your knees down. Keeping both feet flexed so your ankle should be at 90-degree angles. Ankle over knee, knee over ankle. Usually you have to walk your bottom foot out so it's parallel with your top leg. And once again, making some circles so you get used to finding your pelvic floor here in this pose. Going both ways. Let's walk the right fingertips down, out. Bringing the left arm up and over. And then walking the left fingertips out. Bringing the right arm up and over. Interlace the fingers to the webbing behind your back. So all the way, and then your thumbs should be right in between your shoulder blades. You're welcome to stay here, or you could try going for a trunk rotation. Going all around, both directions. All right. Next up, Gomukhasana. A lot of people don't like this one. So you're gonna, like before we did in beginning cat cow, one knee in front of the other. So right now I have my right knee in front of my left knee. They're nice and snug and tucked right behind each other. There's no space. My feet, tops of my feet are wide apart. I'm gonna take my rolled towel or blanket behind me to come to sit on. You could even sit on a block or books or cushion, whatever to elevate yourself. A lot of times I see when people come into this pose and they don't use anything behind them, look, the knees automatically come apart. So we're trying to find connections here. So you want your knees to come together. So just elevate yourself from your foundation. That should help the knees to come together. So this is a very demanding pose. So it's totally fine if all you want to do is just chill up here. You're also welcome to hold out blocks, come up onto the fingertips, walk your bottom foot out so that's parallel with the front foot. Try to keep both feet flexed at 90-degree angles. So we did a lot of getting into the hips earlier and lizard and pigeon. So this kind of counters that, because even though it feels really good to get into the hips, you want to make sure that your hips aren't open when you're walking out of class. So here we're wrapping the sacrum. The sacrum is where a lot of nerves intersect. So it feels nice to smooth it out. That's how I like to use my imagination in this pose. We're really wrapping the sacrum, smoothing it out, relaxing those nerves in the lower spine. Lots of options here. Grab opposite elbow. Looking from side to side. Also welcome to fold, fitting your throat right over your knee. That's another fit. Roll onto your knees. You're welcome to use a block here for support if you have issue with balance. Trying to bring your left hip forward. You're standing high on your knees. Interlacing fingers behind the head, elbows high. Release. Bring your left leg forward in front of your right leg. Again, your legs are tucked one behind another, tops of feet apart, and you're going to sit back down onto the other side. Walking your bottom foot out so that it's parallel with the front foot. Trying to keep both ankles flexed at 90 degrees. You're welcome to take any variation we took before. You grab opposite elbow. You can just play with sitting up here. You take a fold. You could fold, maybe you could swim. Going up and around yourself. Being able to see in all directions around you. Once you've had enough, we're going to extend our legs out and prepare for Paschimottanasana. Forward fold. I recommend sitting on a blanket just so that it's easier to access the middle of your pelvic floor, your perineum. So scooting back on the blanket. You're welcome to take your feet either hips width distance or together. And then bend your knees as much as you need to. So you could grab the bottoms of your feet, so either your heels or the tops of your feet. And then trying to fit your knees into your armpit. You could either rest your forehead on a cushion on your shins or a block on the highest setting. And here I like to imagine wrapping myself in a cocoon. So inhale from the bottoms of my feet, up the backs of my legs, and exhale up the spine to the crown of my head. Taking at least 3 more breaths here. Grab opposite elbow to come out, looking out, plugging into your pelvic floor so that you could extend your spine longer to come out. And fold a few times and unfold. Releasing the hands. Let's come to a seat. So hero's pose. Heels are right outside your butt, knees are bent. If your pelvic floor can reach the floor, amazing. If not, like most people, you could place either a couple of textbooks or a block right underneath your perineum. You should feel like you're sitting on the edge of your seat. If you're sitting on your tailbone, you'll see that the shell of my back. So shifting the pelvis forward, that you get that nice curvature, that straight spine for the energy to rise. Palms grabbing opposite elbow. You can even switch which one you do, so it's the awkward feeling one. Inhale, opening a window, arms by your ears, and exhale to close. In and out, in and out. You control the speed. So if you're used to going slow, you could try speeding it up. If you're used to making it go fast so that it could end faster, maybe try slowing it down and refining every detail, making sure your palms are really cupping your elbows and you're not just grabbing a part of your arm. Your body was designed to fit itself. Relaxing the arms. Interlace thumbs overhead. And we're going to mimic a cat-cow spine. So again, you're shifting from your pelvic floor forward and back. And this time your arms are going along for the ride as well. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So most of our practice today had to do with the bottom floor. That had a lot to do with grounding, finding the foundation in order to rise beyond your own perception. So it really is a being practice. Here with this pranayama, it's a lot of doing. And then hopefully activating your top floor throughout the practice of seeing, of building a vision, increasing your creativity, using your imagination to get you to the next place. And release your arms, palms facing up on your lap. Always take the time to reorient yourself in any moment of stillness, knowing that you're organized along a central spit that runs from the crown of your head and through your pelvic floor, reaching to the core of the earth from below and extending to beyond the cosmos from above. Use your left hand to tap the center of your chest, your thymus gland, your personal immunity, going all around in circles. Your chest should feel taut like a drum. Bring your right arm into the air, and you're going to exhale, alternating your hands. So exhale, 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 exhale. Through the nose. I love doing tapping exercises. Sometimes when I lead pranayama classes, I do a full body tapping. Tapping is a very somatic experience. It really gets you into your body. So that's why, unlike most yoga practices, Katonah doesn't end with a shavasana. Because what's the point of spending the entire time getting into your body and then the last few minutes completely dissociating? So we like to keep you in your body. You could always speed it up, put your arms into it, put your neck into it. I like to think of it as tossing out everything that I'm carrying in my heart that no longer serves me. Inhale, arms overhead, forming your hands into cups. Just so that if grace happens to rain down, you're ready to catch it. You can imagine the breath route, inhaling from your pelvic floor, up your spine to the top of your head, and exhaling from the top of your head back down to your pelvic floor. Bring your hands together at heart center, bowing your head to yourself, thanking yourself for taking the time for self-care this morning. And thank you for all those that will be joining me during the recording. I appreciate you all. Thanks for joining the Yang practice.